Well, Vinny, there's only one place we can start tonight after that Ukraine 1, Ireland 1 draw in the Nations League, and that's the goal scored by Nathan Collins, a centre-back dribbling from the edge of a centre circle and beating two men. A little bit of luck maybe with the ball off his knee, but then to show that composure to put the ball into the net. We don't usually see that kind of thing from Irish centre-backs, do we?
No, it was really brilliant goal, and it just shows you that the modern young centre-half coming through the system has got good ability with the ball at his feet, but it was so brave. It was the Irish team we spoke about during the game, but the centre-halves were so willing to step in to midfield and put Ukraine under pressure, and Nathan Collins done that, won the ball back, and obviously dribbled past two players, and the little touch off his shin, as I would call it, was brilliant. But then, to be honest with you, to show the composure from 12, 13 yards out, side-footed with his right foot outside of the boot, and it was a perfect little neat finish as well. And normally the normal person who does that was lucky enough to get in that position balloons them over the bar. So no, really brilliant play, and delighted. I think that goal will be well celebrated down in the Lawns and Cherry Orchard tonight. They normally in the clubhouse have the Irish games on for the kids after training. So for Nathan, spent 70. He left at 16.5 that club, and a brilliant moment for as I said, the Collins family, who are steeped in Irish football history, and big moment for him and something for his career he can build on.
Just to stay with Collins before we go into the match any further, and we're not being reactionary because of tonight's goal and his performance all round, which was excellent again. But I said to you at half time during the game, it was the same with Burnley in the closing stages of the Premier League season. He was popping up in the box, right place at the right time, every time, blocking shots. It was the same for Ireland over the last 3 matches as well, 4 matches I should say. That doesn't happen by chance. That's not fluke. That's the sign of a really good defender who reads the game really well. And that's the main ingredient you have to have as a centre half. But then he's got so much more. He can score, he can dribble the ball, he can pass the ball, he can take it forward. Would it be fair to say that if he stays with Burnley this season, it might be a season wasted in the Championship, that he really should be looking at getting a move to a Premier League club? We know that he's been linked with Leeds and Newcastle. Yeah,
look, I think he's all the abilities. We know he plays right back as well at different stages for his club, so he's obviously a really good footballer, someone who's comfortable on the ball and a footballer. So he obviously has that. We've seen that with the goal, obviously. But look, we got to be careful a little bit as well. We wouldn't like him to go to a Newcastle and just be part of a 25-man squad. I think at this stage he could do with playing. The Championship's an extremely high level, and I think here in Ireland we judge how many players we got in the Premier League. And I think while that was very important to us back in the day, I think world football, the way it's developed, the Premier League is such the higher echelon of world football. It will be difficult to have lots of players there. So I'd be comfortable if Nathan Collins was playing Championship football, but the real leader of Burnley, the centre half that they relied on, because it looks like they lose too big. Ben Mee and
Tarkowski
look like they're off. So he's an opportunity to grow into that position and play regularly there and be the leader. And that may have more benefits than if he went to Newcastle as one of 4 centre halves, for argument's sake, or elsewhere. So look, by the way, it'd be great for him if he got a move as well to the Premiership. So I don't think there's any panic on that. I think we overanalyse that a little bit. Championship, good club. I think a good season under his belt and build on his form of this year would be more than enough for him. As I said, I think he's really developing well.
We should give credit as well to his centre-back partners tonight. Darragh Lenihan making his competitive debut, and Darragh O'Shea coming back for his first competitive start after that fractured ankle, which everybody thought it might take him a long time to come back from. Steve Bruce, I think, admitted for West Brom this season he probably brought him back a little bit too soon, but he finished off the season strongly. Darragh Lenihan has been praised very highly by his manager Tony Mowbray at Blackburn. He had a great competitive debut as well.
Yeah, look, I think personally, I felt that Darragh O'Shea was ahead of them all in terms of his development, but fair play to Collins. He certainly put that cat amongst the pigeon, which is great. But Darragh Lenihan, brilliant tonight. Looks like there's a lot of talk he's on his way to Middlesbrough as well. They're looking to get back into the Premiership and really have a go this year, so that's good. But look, I thought Darragh was a little bit rusty at the start, but as he grew into the game, I thought really good. Look, that was a young Italian side with 3 centre halves, you'd say. Geez, the Italians have just produced 3 more centre halves. That's how good they were tonight. Albeit Ukraine weren't brilliant on the night, and they didn't put them under, real sustained bouts of pressure. But Ireland defended brilliantly as a back three, and I have to say that was an outstanding performance from 3 young players. We know Dara's a little bit older because it's taken him a while, but and the key to what they've done is, it's fair to say Duffy and Egan weren't brilliant in the first 2 games in this window. Now they're under pressure because we've got real stars pushing them, and that's what we want, and that's ultimately how you make teams better. Young players coming through and putting the more senior players under pressure. Yeah,
and of course Bamidele, who we mentioned before the game as well, still to come back. But the other thing as well about the lads, their defending was obviously the key part of their game, but also their passing tonight. And you mentioned in the commentary as well, Darragh O'Shea on the left hand side, right-footed player, but some of the passes he was hitting, which were awkward for him because he was on the wrong side, were just incredible.
Yeah, and that when you play on the left side of any team as a right-footed player, it can help you to step back inside to the pitch. But he stepped inside on a couple of diags, and there was a great ball out to Alan Brown, and who laid it into Jeff Hendrick, and really good play from Ireland, and it came from that. But some of our forward passes were really good. People will say, were they long balls? And no, they were long forward passes we made up to Scott Hogan, up to Troy Parrott. And the distribution, I would say, of our back three and the goalkeeper improved tonight. Because even in Scotland game, I don't think we gave them a couple of chances, but just being a little bit careless. Our distribution was probably foot perfect. We mixed it up, went short when it was on into Josh Cullen, but also kept the Ukrainians guessing by going long at different stages. And look, for young players to read that in the middle of a game, I mean, that's priceless. And to be put under pressure, conceding a minute and a half into the second half, they weren't really flustered by those 3 young players, and I just felt it was as good as it gets from an Irish point of view from those centre halves.
I suppose briefly just to look at the midfield, and we had the wing backs in James McLean, Alan Brown. McLean worked his socks off, perhaps didn't see as much of the ball as Brown did on his side. He played really well tonight, Alan Brown, perhaps not getting the plaudits he deserves when he does put on a green or an orange shirt as it was tonight. Yeah. And again, the midfield 3, pretty good. I know you were saying about Josh Cullen, a little bit like Zinchenko for Ukraine, a lot of misplaced passes tonight, but maybe perhaps the exertions of the last couple of weeks really got to him tonight.
Yeah, just being overcritical because of that position is such a kingmaker. If Josh Cullen can add a little couple of balls to his play, like very seldom you see Josh Cullen, switching the play with a 40-yard pass, or everything has to be shorter into people. And it's good and very good at it, but I think the combination of the 3 of them has worked really well in those 2 games. And we talk about systems a lot, and we bore people, but 2 8 to 6, all of that stuff. But the balance of sort of your 6 with your 8 being Molumby to the right of it, and Knight to the left of it, sort of playing in the 10, and the work rate of them, and Knight joining in the front, means again that midfield 3 is so young. Josh Cullen is the oldest of them, around 25, but when you look at Knight and Molumby, 20, 21, 22, my God, look, we've an opportunity. The future could be bright, and when you look at some, the age profile of that team tonight, I think that's been the shot in the arm that Stephen needed after a difficult 2 games. The young players have come in and really dragged this team up a level.
Troy Parrott will probably be kicking himself over that header that he had the opportunity to score before we got our first goal. But all round, you were very impressed with Troy Parrott's play. What was it that stood out about him, do you think, tonight?
Yeah, so obviously when you watch him live in those last 2 games, he mixes his game up quite well. He'll come in short and link up the play, and he's got a lovely touch. And at times he's a street footballer growing up in inner city Dublin. He knows how to dribble the ball over the cobblestones, no problem to him. And probably around a few bins and back as well. So he's got good ability with the ball at his feet, but also he knows to mix it up and run in behind. And we've seen that obviously with his goal against Scotland, but we also seen a couple of times tonight where, and what that does is, even if you don't get the ball, it pins Ukraine centre half back another 5 yards because they're worried about Troy going in behind, which creates more space for the likes of Knight in there. So I think his game awareness, his intelligence has really improved. Personally, I think the penny has dropped, and he's really sensing this is a real opportunity now for a kick on in his career. And again, look, what we got to do with the likes of Troy is, all the talk was Troy Parrott was the saviour of Irish football 2-3 years ago. Just got to be patient with these young lads, 22. But I just think there's a real hell of a good footballer there for us, and staying fit and continue to improve his game. You could see a mainstay in this Irish team for us, and you would see goals in Troy as well.
Yeah, he turns 21 in January next year, and he has said already on the record that he fancies maybe another loan next season. He said he might go on the pre-season tour with Tottenham down to Korea, which wouldn't be such a bad thing, but you know, that's a lad talking common sense really. He's not kind of thinking, right, let's go in and try and compete with Son and Kane and the other great attacking, Kulusevski, the attacking talent that Tottenham have under Conte. He's just thinking, right, let's get another season in the lower leagues maybe under my belt, and then when he comes back, then we're looking at an older pairing of Son and Kane, and perhaps then that's Parrott's chance to really make a mark.
Yeah, so again, it's typical of where we are as a nation. We're like Tottenham Hotspur have two of the top maybe 10 strikers in the world in Kane and Son, and he's trying to break into that. So we have to be patient. We have to understand that we may not may not break into that Tottenham side, because he may not have the time to wait 4 or 5 years for them to dip, if it's going to take that long for them to. So look, it's not about the barometer isn't does Troy Parrott become a Spurs regular. It's can he become a regular at a really high level, whether that's top end championship or a Premiership player. I think there's a Premiership player in waiting in him. It will take time, and then you know it's down to the lap of gods if he can.
Well, look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane himself had to go out on loan
and sit on the bench when he went on loan, similar to Troy Parrott, and that's often what happens. And I see people quite often when players come on loan to them, and even League of Ireland clubs, a guy comes on loan and they say, "Oh, he'll never make it," etc. It's never easy to go on loan. The manager and the club take a loan player in to fill a hole for something else, so it's never ideal. But look, I think Troy definitely, you can see that maturity in his game and off the field as well, really coming to the fore. And I know a good few people who know him really well, and they tell me he's a great guy as well. So I think he will make the right decision in time, and hopefully somebody in the top end of the championship takes a chance on him, and then that helps his career kick on.
Yeah, and I suppose a lot of the players that played tonight at the start of this campaign, this series of 4 matches, some of the players might have been in the reckoning, or maybe at the forward, or in the front of our minds coming into the series of matches, but now they are. So you think that there are players that Stephen Kenny hasn't been able to use tonight or against Scotland. So he really has he is building depth there, as yourself and Joe mentioned on the radio earlier on this evening. And I suppose when you think about the mood of everybody after those first couple of games, understandably was very pessimistic, but Ireland come out of these 4 matches now feeling a little bit more hopeful, maybe going to the match in September.
Yeah, look, we've a great debate in Irish football at the moment, and it's either I don't know how many people are in the middle, but it's either pro Stephen Kenny or
it's like everything nowadays, Vinny. Everything is so polarised. So you can't be in the middle.
What I've learned this week is patience is the key with this group. Okay, and you know I was on with JD after the Armenia game, and I was very critical of that performance, very critical of the shape of the team. I thought we looked tired, and I felt we lacked real intensity and pace, and I felt against teams like that we need to change the shape. But actually, by hook or by crook, we've brought in these young players who've given a real enthusiastic element to this team, tigerish performances, combative in midfield, and that's always what we were built on. Yes, we had the brilliance of Duff, Keane, really O'Shea at centre half, or whatever the case may be, but we always were competitive and we always left everything on the line. So we can't get away from that bad performances against Armenia. They have to disappear from this group as much as possible, but we've got to be patient, and that's where I learned the lesson to say, and people will say, oh well, he's speaking up for his own mate Stephen Kenny. Yes, I am, because what's coming through, the age profile of this team, Omar Bamadele 19, Nathan Collins 21, Dara O'Shea 23. I mean,
Parrott's 20.
Yeah. Obafemi's 21.
Yeah. JAYSON Molumby is another man, 21.
Jason
22.
Knight 21.
Yeah.
So we've got Will Smallbone hasn't been near the squad, but if he can kick on, I've watched the 21s and he's been really the standout player. But there's other players in there really bubbling underneath. So we've got to be patient. We've got to give this manager time. We've got to be critical if we feel they get it wrong, which I was last week. And I didn't enjoy doing that, and it still hurts me a little bit that I was probably a little bit harsh. But I've learned the big lessons. Patience is the key with this group. You look at Troy Parrott, perfect example. He'll have dips and in his forms, he'll have highs and lows, and that's what happens with young players. There is the odd exceptions where they become world class, but by and large, most players find their way to the top. And look, you could argue the average age of our starting 11, we could get it as low as 21 if we wanted, and we'd have a lot of players with caps. But if we can get to a European Championships in the next campaign, well then we could do what Wales done, and because of the strength and depth there, albeit they'd have Bale to get big moments for them, but we could qualify for a couple of tournaments on a run, because you see a lot of teams at these championships, and the average age is probably closer to 28 and 22, and their average age is closer to 22 at the moment. So it's been a brilliant 2 games for the manager and the staff, and they've answered a lot of critics. I could see Stephen Kenny was hurt. I could see it in him. I think he was hurt by the criticism of the first 2 games, and the staff and the players have really responded well. Tactically tonight, we were exceptional, and you must give the coaching staff all the credit for that. When we didn't have the ball, we were tactically sound. The odd little moments you're going to get out with young players, we were really good tonight. So look, we've got to learn from that and build, continue to build. Yes, have the debate, and half are right and half are wrong, but look, I feel like we're halfway to something or halfway to nothing, and I'd rather be positive and say we're on the right track under this manager.
May not be a Bale in the team. We certainly got a Bale-esque finish from Collins tonight. That's great, Vinny. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you.